Yo, what it is, you know what it is. It's your man King Musa with the Cheat Sheet, where we decode success for creators, professors, and business owners. I'm your host, King Musa, and today we'll be delving into the field of education with a leader who's dedicated to shaping the future of teaching and learning. We're thrilled to have Dr. Jannah Nerren, the chair of Education Studies at Stephen F. Austin State University, with us today. Dr. Nerren has a deep commitment to education and leader preparation, and we're eager to hear about her journey and innovative work happening in education studies. Welcome, Dr. Nerren.
Well, hi, I'm glad to be here.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. There was a couple nerves, but to break all the nerves, let's do a little icebreaker.
Okay, let's do it.
Yes, ma'am. So I heard that you taught in kindergarten, kindergarten classrooms. What is something memorable or something maybe like, I don't know, something that happened in a kindergarten class?
Okay, so that was many, many years ago. But there is nothing like teaching a group of kindergartners. And one thing I will tell you is that kindergartners will say anything.
Oh,
They will tell you anything. They will say whatever's in their mind. So
wow.
one funny thing that comes to mind is a little boy that I had in a kindergarten classroom so many years ago. So let me just say, I was much younger then.
Right.
And one of the things that he said to me that I'll never forget was he asked me so sincerely, "How'd you get to be so old?"
Oh,
And I was very insulted, but also thought it
no.
was hilarious.
No.
But now, probably 20 years later, I think I wasn't even old, little guy.
Right. Right. That's crazy. That's like him calling me old.
Exactly.
Okay. So would you say sometimes college students have that same speak out of their...
Oh, that's an interesting question. I mean, college students are not as transparent as kindergartners. I mean,
Okay.
kindergartners will tell you things about what's going on in their home and
Right.
sometimes things that you really don't want to know. I would say for the most part that university students today
Mhm.
are fairly transparent, but certainly not on the level of a 5-year-old. I will say, so I've been in college teaching since 2000, so 24 years. So
Yes,
wow,
ma'am.
that makes that kindergarten experience, over 25 years
Right.
ago. And I think sometimes that there are changes in generations of college students. And
Okay.
so, of course, one of the things that's happened over time is that we communicate digitally much more now
Right.
than we did when I started.
Right.
And so I think in some ways that has affected the way we communicate with each other. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. All right. So let's go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Could you introduce yourself and tell us what you do here at SFA?
Sure. So my name's Jannah Nerren, and I am the department chair for the Department of Education Studies.
Yes, ma'am.
Education Studies is a large department in the College of Education. So that's the James I. Perkins College of Education. And we prepare future teachers and future school professionals.
Right.
So very focused on initial teacher preparation, but we also prepare through our master's degree other
Yes, ma'am.
professionals related to public schools.
Okay. Where did you where did you grow up? Where did you go to school?
Yes.
Did your parents go to college?
So let me start with where did I grow up? I
Okay.
did grow up in East Texas, so I am native to this area.
Yes, ma'am.
My father, actually, he had a master's degree from SFA,
Okay.
and he was a businessman.
Okay.
My mom actually went to college. She didn't earn her degree, but
Right.
she had some college experience.
Yes, ma'am. So what got you into education?
Well, okay, I have to be honest here. I grew up with a grandmother who was a classroom teacher, and I loved going to her classroom and spending time with her, but I really never saw myself as a teacher.
Okay.
I was very interested in writing and in journalism. And so when I went to college as a college freshman, I was majoring in journalism.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
actually came to visit a friend who was at Stephen F. Austin State University. I was at a
Right.
different school. And when I came to see her, I met up with her in one of her buildings where she had education classes.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was really intrigued with what she was doing. And, we have the SFA Early Childhood Lab, and she
Right.
was over in that building. And I changed my major and actually came to SFA because of that
Wow.
experience.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So outside of education and teaching, what would you say are your passions and interests? Like, what are your hobbies?
Well, I'm a nerd and
Okay.
I love to read.
Yeah.
I'm an avid reader of historical fiction.
Yes, ma'am.
I love yoga, so I practice yoga regularly.
Right.
I love to cook, and
Okay.
so you can find me in a kitchen or with a book most of the time
Let's do
when I'm
it.
not at work.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, all right, let's go ahead and switch back over to your career again.
Okay.
As far as your vision and like initiative that's been going on in education studies, could you share some of those?
Sure. So, one of the things that we're very much focused on right
Mm-hmm.
now in education studies is removing barriers to teacher preparation.
Okay.
So, if you watch the news for 5 minutes, you'll know that in the state and really in the nation, we're
Right.
facing a teacher shortage.
Yes, ma'am.
And the pandemic really made that worse. And if you then pair that with some of the barriers that exist
Mm-hmm.
to people becoming certified teachers in the state of Texas, it's really challenging. We're trying to develop future teachers and also entice them into the profession,
Right.
prepare them as well as we can, and make it where that's accessible. So, of course, what's always an obstacle to school? Money, right?
Right.
And traditionally, in teacher preparation, we've had a semester of what people think of as student teaching,
Right.
where we expected students to go into a school and be there all day, every day, school hours, for free as they
Mm-hmm.
were completing their degree. And we know that that's just not sustainable.
Right.
People need to work. And so over time, we've seen people exit their program when it came close to that student teaching semester because they couldn't afford to do it.
Right.
So we've been working very closely to partner with school districts and provide paid experiences
Yes, ma'am.
for our future teachers to complete their degree while getting that really great experience
Right.
hands-on in the classroom.
Yes, ma'am. That's cool.
Yeah, we're excited about it.
I like it. So you mentioned something like you mentioned experience. Stop. You mentioned experience, but as far as like your experience, what did you like where did you go to school, and how did you get to becoming the chair?
Yeah. Well, let me say I have a long history with SFA.
Okay.
I have a couple of degrees from SFA, and you heard the story. I came here, from another school where I was going to be a journalism major, and then
Yes, ma'am.
came and really just fell in love with the constructivist approach to education, which is
Right.
what we embrace in our SFA Early Childhood Lab and our SFA Charter School.
Okay.
Um, After I graduated, I was, as I said earlier, a kindergarten teacher in a public school for a few years, and then so my real passion was early childhood education.
Right.
So then I actually worked in a private I worked with an outside entity, and we developed a private preschool
Okay.
and childcare facility, and I was the director of that for several years.
Yes, ma'am.
And then there was a period of time that I was a mom. And then I started at SFA in 2000 in an adjunct faculty role.
Okay.
The department chair at the time was Dr. Jannah Spatillo, and then it
Okay.
was the Department of Elementary Ed. And she reached out to me and invited me to teach a couple of classes.
Right.
And I fell in love then with teaching university students who
Gotcha.
had this goal of being classroom teachers. And so I knew I could bring my practical experience and my love of learning to that role. So I've done several things at
Yes,
this
ma'am.
university and then another one for a time. And then I just came back to SFA in 2022
Okay.
as the chair of the Department of Education Studies.
I like it.
Yeah,
All
thank
right.
you.
A lot of good experience. Yes, ma'am. Was there ever a class that you really enjoyed teaching if you wasn't doing like the department stuff would you teach that class?
Oh, yeah. So all of the early childhood classes.
Okay.
There was a time when I was fully immersed in university teaching where I was the coordinator and instructor for what at the time we called the Field One experience.
Yes, ma'am.
And so there was a component of that where I had a lecture time with the teacher candidates. That's what we call them. They're college students, teacher
Okay.
candidates. But also I was with them on an elementary campus where they were in the classroom interacting with elementary students teaching reading lessons.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
so I would go in and observe and provide feedback and then have them in our classroom where we would debrief and talk about what they were doing in those classrooms. So I loved that. So, yes, I would go back and teach Field One in elementary ed.
Field one, got it. Yes, ma'am. So what about in being a chair and
Mhm.
just the daily activities? Are there any challenges that you kind of had to learn or overcome?
Yeah, well, I guess the challenges are just that we have a lot of work to do.
Hmm.
And sometimes I feel like there just are not enough hours in the day.
Right.
As I said, we're starting some new initiatives. I talked about removing the barriers with the paid experiences. So we have really redesigned our program
Yes,
where
ma'am.
those paid experiences are not just a semester, but it's actually an entire year. So
Okay.
it's been very time consuming to modify our curriculum, develop our model, work
Mm,
with school districts, work with our teacher candidates to get that in place. And then there's just the day-to-day
right.
work. You know, we're a very large department. We have about 35 full-time faculty,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
then of course a full staff and graduate assistants and student workers. And there are a lot of people that I'm responsible for making sure are having a great work experience
Right.
and that we're all working together toward preparing future teachers.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Are so are, are there any myths that people may have about being the chair? Like, is there something you
Myths
feel like they are
about being the
misunderstanding?
chair. Well, maybe this, and this really talks about my viewpoint of leadership.
Mm,
I believe that any leadership role is a service role. And you really are in that position to serve the faculty, the
hmm.
staff, and the students. And for me in education, in a way, I feel like I'm serving the school children of Texas
Yes, ma'am.
because I'm working every day to try to prepare the very best teachers and school leaders. I don't want to leave out that part of it. I keep saying initial teachers, but again, we have these advanced programs too that are school professionals.
Mm,
And so I think the myth is some people may see it as that maybe people want to be a chair because it's a position of authority
right.
or has some element of that, but I really see it as the opposite of that. I feel like I am in service
Yes,
to
ma'am.
the people in the department.
That's sweet. Yes. Now talking about being in service, what are some exciting initiatives or programs going on currently in the College of Education that students and faculties can be excited for?
Okay, gosh, so many.
Okay.
So I told you about the paid
Hmm.
year-long residency. We're super excited about that. I actually have also been working with faculty in the department and folks over in Res Life
Right.
to develop a new residential learning community for future teachers. We're
Okay.
going to call it the RAFT, and that stands for Residential Area for Future Teachers.
Okay.
And so we're working to develop this over in Steen Hall, where freshmen, starting next year, when
Yes,
they come to
ma'am.
SFA and they know they want to be a classroom teacher, they can live together in this living learning community where we're providing programming and support for them.
Okay.
So I'm excited about that.
Yes, ma'am.
I can tell you one more.
Okay.
We actually, this past summer, well, it was actually late spring,
Hmm.
hosted the Lifelong Learning Conference. And so our department, faculty in the department, worked to put together this conference, which is really continuing education
Yes,
for
ma'am.
current classroom teachers and future classroom teachers. And we will continue to have that annually. So we already have the date set for next year. And
Right.
it's a really great opportunity for, again, educators and future educators across the state to come to our campus and participate and collaborate and be a part of some lifelong learning.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, y'all really got things planned out. Okay. What important lesson would you share with others who are either pursuing um a job in education or even, going to higher education and becoming a chair?
Okay. And that's such a great question because I do want to say that the professionals at SFA that are in faculty roles in education studies,
Yes, ma'am.
they all have backgrounds in teaching. So they bring that experience from the classrooms in the state of Texas and the roles that they had also in other support roles involving schools.
Right.
They bring that to the higher ed experience.
Okay.
So, a piece of advice that I would give, let's talk about those undergraduate students thinking about a career as a classroom teacher.
Yes, ma'am.
I would say that in the past few years, you hear a lot of negative media about, oh, it's so hard to be a teacher. Oh, the pay is not good.
Mm,
Oh, there's so many challenges to being a teacher. I would say don't listen to the negative media. There's so much beauty and joy and the opportunity to make a difference in
yes,
the
ma'am.
lives of others and in the future of really our society through being a teacher. And there are opportunities to work in schools where it really is a myth that the pay is too low.
Right.
I also would say that if you pursue a career in education, there are so many different things you can do with that.
Mm,
So, yes, you can start in a classroom and be a classroom teacher and maybe love that and do that your entire career. Or maybe then that branches off to where you become a reading specialist,
right.
or you become an instructional coach, or you become a class, you become a campus principal.
Right.
And then maybe eventually you become a college professor
Yes,
preparing
ma'am.
future school professionals. So there are many things that that can become possible and opportunities with a degree in education.
Yes, ma'am. Now, for this is gonna be my last question.
Okay.
So, changing your major from journalism, which I was like, "Yay, she was with us," right? To education. What really stood out to you that might inspire somebody else who never thought about education,
Okay.
that they can, hear from you and they're like, okay, I've never even, considered it.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll tell you what really made the difference for me and made me flip that switch. When I thought of teaching, again, this was, years ago when I was a college freshman. I think I was a college sophomore when I changed.
Yes, ma'am.
I thought of the classroom experience that I had
Okay.
had. And so that experience was very traditional and I would even say a little rigid. Think about desks in rows with
Right.
textbooks. And I didn't want to teach that way. So I never considered that. And then when I experienced a different way of teaching where there
Okay.
was active learning and children were up and moving and manipulating objects and interacting with each other, and it wasn't a silent classroom with
Right.
children in desks in rows, I could see the learning happening, and I wanted to be able to help facilitate that type of learning.
Okay.
And so I would say to anyone who's unsure, if you had a wonderful experience, great. But if you didn't, talk to others and explore others. Come visit our SFA charter school
Right.
and look at what learning looks like there.
Yes, ma'am.
And then open yourself up to the possibilities of being an educator.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nerren, for sharing your insight and experience with us today. It has been enlightening to hear about your work in education and the future of teaching preparation at SFA. Remember, listeners, success in education starts with a commitment to learning and a passion for helping others grow. Subscribe to the Cheat Sheet and follow us on social media and stay connected. This is King Musa signing off, encouraging you to keep educating, keep inspiring, and keep making a difference. Yeah, have a great day.